Om Yedharma Hetu Prabhavam Hetum Deshan Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Bhati Mahashramanaye Swaha Om Yedharma Hetu Prabhavam Hetum Deshan Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Mahashramanaye Swaha Om Yedharma Hetu Prabhavam Hetum Deshan Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Bhati Mahashramanaye Swaha Tiyatha Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha Tiyatha Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha Tyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha Tyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha. Page 7. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sanye Joda Soge Jonam La Chanjo Bardo Dane Gyapsuch Tage Jinso Gebe Sonam Ge Dola Penjir Sanye Rubarisho Sanye Joda Soge Jonam La Chanjo Bardo Dane Gyapsuch Tage Jinso Gebe Sonam Ge Dola Penjir Sanye Rubarisho Sanye Joda Soge Jonam Chanjo Bardo Dane Gyapsuche Dage Jinso Gebe Sonamgi Tola Penjir Sanje Drubaresho. So we were doing of the 4 seals, we were doing seal number 3. Everything is of the nature of emptiness, selflessness. From what we discussed of the seal number 1 and 2, number 1 and 2, where we see all composite things impermanent, all the phenomena with which we interact, we see them as impermanent, and then the impermanence on 2 levels, the gross and the subtle impermanence. Then, particularly when we understand the subtle impermanence, then we see that our body is so transient, moment by moment it is changing. Our mind is so transient, moment by moment it is changing. And the world with which you interact, and moment by moment it is changing. And say this understanding of impermanence, has a great impact in our cutting down our negative emotions such as attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth, where when we see something repulsive object or say unattractive object, where we feel agitated. So when we see that is transient, then our feeling of aversion also subsides. Likewise, what stimulates us into attachment and so forth, when we see that object is transient, I'm transient, then the attachment and so forth subsides. Okay, but the negative emotions, will they be subsided completely by this understanding of the impermanence? And of course not, but then to a great extent they help us to subside. Okay, now the next is how can we really get out of this samsara altogether, this painful experience, the pain of samsara altogether? So it says that everything is the nature of emptiness, selfness, which means that we have to know how the mechanism, how samsara operates. So the 5 points which we learned this morning, the 5 points, they're all samsara, not necessarily the just outside. They're all painful experiences, and the external factors, internal factors, which all trigger miseries in us. So these constitute the samsara. And this samsara, point number 1, is triggered by its immediate cause. What is that? What is the immediate cause of samsara? Contaminated karmas. And what is the immediate cause of the contaminated karmas? Afflictions. And what is the immediate cause of the afflictions? Inappropriate attention. What is the immediate cause of the inappropriate attention? Self-grasping ignorance. Okay, these 5 points we need to have on our fingertips. We need to have them on our fingertips. Now with this, we come to know, if you don't want suffering, which is the end result, what we should do is that we should cut down, we should sever the contaminated karmas. And if we don't want contaminated karmas, we have to sever afflictions. If we don't want afflictions, we have to cut the inappropriate attention. And if you don't want inappropriate attention, what should we do? We should cut self-grasping ignorance. This is the best way by which to eradicate our miseries. Okay. Now the next is, how can we cut the self-grasping ignorance? This is obvious next question. Okay, anyone who likes to share with us? Anyone? Newcomers and the old comers all? Okay. So what would be the best way by which to, now thus far what we have come to is that if we don't want the suffering, finally what we should be doing is that we have to cut the self-grasping ignorance, right? Okay, so how can we cut the self-grasping ignorance? Anyone? Yes, over there, Edward. Should have the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, should have the wisdom of emptiness. Good. So the next question. This is very important. So this question, don't think that, okay, there are some people who will take the responsibility. So I'll just listen, right? We imagine that he can point to me anytime, right? Okay. Say, how does the wisdom of emptiness helps to sever the self-grasping ignorance? Anyone? Okay, let us all listen to the people who provide the answers and see whether your answer tallies with the whoever gives the answer. Anyone else? How does the wisdom of emptiness help to sever or to cut the self-grasping ignorance? Anyone? Christian, yes?
Sorry. Is it because at some level you... Oh, thank you. Is it because at some level or at every level you believe that you are a self or like an inherently existing person, and once you see the emptiness of all phenomena, you recognize your own lack of inherent existence, and then you stop grasping at that thing that is dreamlike? you view it correctly as dreamlike?
Very good, very good. Yes, very good. Okay, this is a yes, Vinita.
I was just going to add to that point, just to stop seeing things objectively real.
Exactly. So we have both giving us the correct good answers. Okay, it is through seeing that things are dreamlike, the emptiness meaning emptiness of objective existence, and we should not worry too much about this. And this is the where we're going to dedicate at least like 60 or 70% of our time on this, how things don't exist objectively, right? Okay, so for this, there's nothing really existing objectively. All are like dream. So this needs to be articulated. This needs to be clarified in the mind. Okay, for this matter, I'd like to share with you the analogy. Oftentimes in the study of logic, or say when explaining some concepts, analogies are extremely helpful. With analogies you gain conviction, and then with this you can say whatever meaning is being conveyed, we will try to see how that makes how that is relevant to what we are trying to see. Okay, so just imagine that we are dreaming. And is the nightmare. You are having a nightmare in the dream. Nightmare, being chased by a ghost. This is extremely important analogy. And later on, also with this analogy, we see that the almost like say of the four Buddhist philosophical schools, what are they? Vaibhashika, Sautantrika, Chittamatra, Madhyamika, four, right? So usually what I say is that in my next life I don't have to learn all these things, because I've been repeating this so many times. So in this life it's enough for me. There will be enough, good enough for the next life also. Yeah. Okay, Vaibhashika, Sautantrika, Chittamatra, Madhyamika, four, right? So in fact, you see extensive exchanges and debates between the various philosophical schools, like particularly Chittamatra and Madhyamika. And within Madhyamika, Sautantrika and Prasangika, the debates were there, but more often you see between Chittamatra and the Madhyamika. And then the Sautantrika and Madhyamika, you do see some debates mentioned in the Sautantrika text. Okay, so there we see that in this example of the dream, this is so convincing. And this is in fact used by Chittamatra, Sautantrika, Madhyamika, Prasangika. All the schools, they use this example, dream. So this is extremely helpful. And for your own, to gain conviction for yourself, this example, if you reflect on the basis of the dreams, is very convincing, one. And then later on, when you are to, say, when you come across people to whom you can actually convey or share, again, on the basis of the dream example, that would be very helpful. Okay. So, say that you are having a nightmare in your dream where you are being chased by a ghost. And then say that we are at the moment in Jambi, right? And say that the night we sleep here in Jambi, you dream of being in, say, in Singapore, right? In Singapore, while actually you are sleeping in Jambi, but you dream of being in Singapore. And then in Singapore, suddenly there's a ghost coming and you are being chased and all the traffic blocked, and then everyone is running, dashing, right? And then you fall and the ghost is nearing you. What is your experience? What is the emotional reaction? So much of fear. Right? Don't say fear with smiling face. Right? Okay. Right? Okay, there should be some feeling. Oh yeah, make it quite real. Okay, so much fear there. Right? Okay, so much fear there. Then the ghost is about to reach you. And your mother wakes you up. What's the experience? Incredible relief, right? Incredible relief. Okay, this is a very, very simple and very powerful example. Now tell me, in the dream, just imagine, in the dream, did you see all the buildings, all the cars, the road, all these things were there in the dream? Yes, you dreamt of being in Singapore, right? You dreamt all these details. Look at this, for example, look at these curtains. You see all these creases, right? All these folds, the details are there. And then you just penetrate through the curtains, this white, the transparent curtains. We see that there are the patterns there. Do you see the patterns? In the dream, everything will be just the same in a dream. Right? All these details you'll see. And you look at some of the shirts and the pants like this, you see the patterns there. All these things you will see the same in the dream. In the dream, if somebody tells you that this is dream, you will not believe. How can my mind create all these details? You're getting it? Okay. So, in the dream, you had a tremendous fear. And then when you wake up, the fear dissolves. Okay, tell me. Is that the same person who had the tremendous fear? And is the same person who had the fear is out of fear and had tremendous relief upon waking up? Is it the same person or different? There are two different people. Same person, right? Okay. Now the same person, tell me why you as the same person, when in the dream you had a tremendous fear, and when you come out of the dream, you had tremendous relief, feeling of relief. Why you had the tremendous fear in the dream? Why? You believe what? Believe the dream goes as real. You getting it? You believe the dream goes as real. When you wake up, how the fear dissolved? What made the fear dissolve upon waking up? Why? You realize that the dream ghost was not real. The dream ghost was empty of being real. The dream goes as empty of being real. When you discover that the dream ghost was empty of being real, fear dissolves. When you see the dream ghost as real, the fear arises. You getting it? Okay. Now with this, let us create a scenario where, say, in the dream, the dream ghost is chasing you, and there's tremendous fear in you, and suddenly your father turns up, and what's the problem with you, right? And you say, oh, there's a ghost there, and then your father calls a tantric. You know what tantric is? Person who casts mantras like this, right? You call him, father calls a tantric, and the tantric casts some Om Mani Padme Hum, right? Some mantras, and then the ghost retreats, right? And the ghost disappears. Are you happy or not happy? Hey, are you happy or not happy? Very happy, right? Then your father tells you, can I leave now? You will say, yes, okay. Then your father leaves along with the tantric. Tantric also leaves. And again the ghost comes towards you, right? So you had the fear, and the fear dissolves. Again the fear arises. You're getting it? What is that experience? Are you happy, or overall speaking, are you happy or not happy? The fear comes, dissolves. Again comes, dissolves. Are you happy or not happy? If you don't want to have the fear altogether, if you completely sever, if you want to sever the fear completely, what should you do? Wake up. Right? Wake up. You don't have to call the tantric. Right? Just wake up, and the fear of ghosts chasing you in the dream will stop instantly. And then, so this dream, that's the end. Okay, maybe tomorrow's dream can come, but this dream is the end, right? If you keep waking up without going to sleep again, then this fear of the dream ghost creating fear in you will never be there if you keep waking up, right? It is for this reason that the Buddha Shakyamuni is referred to as the fully awakened one. Buddha Shakyamuni is referred to as the fully awakened one, right? Who never goes to the sleep of ignorance anymore. Fully awakened one. So we have to, if we really don't want to go through all these miseries again, sickness, aging and death, and so I constantly hear all the sad news from different people whom I know, all the pathetic, sad news. People suffering from cancer, people just died, and this problem, that problem. Is so sad to hear all these things. Now, and these are the realities. These are the realities. So how to get out of this problem altogether? If we really don't want to have this problem altogether, what should we do now? Just wake up from the sleep of ignorance, right? Wake up from the sleep of ignorance. How to wake up from the sleep of ignorance? This is the question. Sleep of ignorance. Ignorance by the very definition is a mental state which distorts the reality. Ignorance by the very definition is a mental state which distorts the reality. Where the ignorance mental state which does not have the vision of the reality, which distorts the reality, which doesn't have the vision of the reality, which blinds the vision of the reality, right? Okay, so if this is ignorance, and if you want to get out of the ignorance, what should we do is that introduce a mental state which is directly in opposition with ignorance. Introduce a mental state which is directly in opposition with ignorance. For example, if we all came here with a great excitement for, say, Bodhicitta retreat, the place which was blessed by the great Bodhisattva, Lama Selingpa, Adishita Shirigana, all these great, the practitioners, monks, and so forth. We're so excited to come here. And then, and then I said, Sonamla, I feel a little scared. And Sonamla said, oh, what's the problem? I'm a little scared. There may be ants. Ants? I'm scared of the ants. I have an ant-phobia. And Sonamla said, don't worry, Geshela, there's no elephant in this house. Sonamla tried to remove my fear. Said, Geshela, don't worry. Because don't be afraid of anything. There's no elephant in this house. Is it true or not? Is the elephant in this hall or not? No. Okay. Am I afraid of elephant or I'm afraid of ants? I'm afraid of ants. I'm not afraid of an elephant. And Sonamla is trying to remove my fear. He's so kind. He's trying to remove my fear by saying, Geshela, don't worry. There's no elephant in this. There's no elephant in this hall. Is this wisdom or this ignorance? There's no elephant in this hall. Does it tally with the reality or this is distortion of the reality? Tally with the reality. It tallies with the reality. There's no elephant. That's true. Is there ants? There's no ants. Is there elephant? There's no elephant. Both are correct. But which is relevant to me? There's no ants. That is relevant to me, not the other one. Both are wisdom, but a very precise wisdom. So the wisdom, right? Okay, we have to do from ABC, right? Let's say, there is no elephant in this hall. Is this wisdom or ignorance? There is elephant in this hall, wisdom or ignorance? Good. Okay, if this is ignorance, then opposite should be the wisdom. There is elephant in this hall, wisdom or ignorance? Ignorance. Now what is wisdom? Counterforce of this wisdom? What's the counterforce of this ignorance? There is no elephant in this hall. So, there is no elephant in this hall. Is this wisdom or ignorance? This is wisdom. Very good. Now, there's no ants in this hall. Wisdom of ignorance. There's no ants in this hall. Wisdom or ignorance? Wisdom. So far, I didn't see any ants, right? So, this is wisdom. Now, there are so many kinds of wisdoms. There's no elephant in this hall. There's no Singapore in this hall. right? There's no what? There's no tiger in this hall, and so forth. All these are wisdoms, but what we should look for, of all the different wisdoms, what we should look for is the one which is relevant to us, and what are we afraid of? Thus far, from what you've learned, suffering caused by contaminated karmas caused by afflictions caused by inappropriate attention caused by self-grasping ignorance, right? Now, if you're afraid of suffering, we should be afraid of self-grasping ignorance. You're getting it? If you're afraid of the miseries, then the final cause of the miseries we should be afraid of. If you want to remove the miseries, you should remove the final cause of the miseries. What is the final cause of the miseries? Self-grasping ignorance. Okay, now self-grasping ignorance is at the heart, which we have to eradicate. To eradicate the self-grasping ignorance by definition is what? The one which distorts the reality. You're getting it? The one which distorts the reality. Okay. Because that it distorts the reality, to remove this ignorance, we have to introduce a counter force. And say there is ignorance, because it distorts the reality, it does not know the reality. You agree with me? Because it distorts the reality, it does not know the reality. If it does not know the reality, it is like being in dark. In dark, you don't see what is around. You agree with me? In dark, you don't see what is around. With ignorance, you don't see the reality. In dark, you don't see the reality, what is around you. So, ignorance is like darkness. Now, with the knowledge of the darkness, if you don't want the darkness, what should we do? Say, for example, we have the precious garland, for example, say we are going through this text, and then suddenly, in the night, there's a power cut. There's no suddenly there's a power cut, and we cannot go through this text anymore, and we are so keen to study this. So what should we do? We should remove the darkness. You agree with me? We have to remove the darkness. How are we going to remove the darkness? Oh, come together, let's pray to the Buddha. Buddha, please remove the darkness. Buddha, please remove the darkness. Oh, Mani Padme Hum, remove the darkness. The darkness will never be removed. If you really want to remove the darkness, what should you do? Tell me. Torch or light a candle. Do something. Introduce a light. If you really want to remove the darkness, you should introduce the light. You should introduce the counter force. So if you say, Buddha, please remove the darkness, if the Buddha is next to you, he will be very sad. He will say, such a hopeless follower. Right? Whereas, instead of saying praise to the Buddha, we want to learn what you have taught. So we are not seeing the books. We cannot read the books. Now we will bring hey, Sonamla, bring some candle, lights. You light the candle, the Buddha would be so happy, right? This person can really follow me because his teaching is all grounded on rationality, and he'll be so happy. To follow this teaching, we should have a sense of rationality. Rational thinking must be there. So for this, if you really don't want to have the darkness, only through introducing the light we can eliminate the darkness. Likewise, if you don't want to have the darkness of the ignorance, what should we do? We should introduce the light of the wisdom. If you don't want the darkness of ignorance, the only thing that we can do is introduce the light of the wisdom. So the next question is, what is the light of the wisdom? What is that light of the wisdom, right? Say, the light of the wisdom is a discerning mind. Wisdom is a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. Wisdom is a discerning mind, a mind which discerns, a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. In other words, your mind, what you think and the reality should tally. What you think and the reality, the two should tally. That is the wisdom. A discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. The next question, what is the reality? Right? The next question, what is the reality? So the reality is the third seal. What is the third seal? What is the third seal? Everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness, right? Okay, everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. So in a loose sense, we're going to go into more detail from tomorrow. But just to give a quick understanding of this, everything is of the nature of emptiness, selflessness. Say, how did you succeed in removing your fear in the dream, nightmare of the dream? How did you succeed? By waking up. By waking up. How did this waking up help you to remove your fear? By waking up, how did it help you? How did waking up help you to remove the fear? How? How did it help you? Anyone? Yes? Exactly. By waking up, you see the reality. You're getting it? You see the reality. Because of seeing the reality, what happens? The wisdom is generated. Because the wisdom is a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. Now, what do you think and the reality? The two tally. Because these two tally, the wisdom is born in you. So with the wisdom, what happens? With the light of the wisdom, the darkness of ignorance is gone. And in the dream, why you had the fear was because of the darkness of the ignorance. Seeing the dream goes as real, which is ignorance. Okay, so the wisdom has to be born within you. Now this wisdom, as I said earlier, how do you understand wisdom? What do you mean by wisdom? A discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. What is the next question? If you want to go further, if you're really eager to free yourself from the miseries altogether, then this is a point where we reach now to cultivate the wisdom, right? And what is wisdom? You ask me, then I said wisdom is a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. What is going to be the next inquiry? How to get where? First you ask me, right? First you ask me, what is wisdom? Then I explained, wisdom is the discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality, right? What is your... Very good. This is how we have to link to the next. Okay, up to this point we already come. What's your next question? Or tell me how to remove the miseries. Don't stress. This is again going back to the start, right? If you want to remove the miseries, Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava. We have to remove the cause of the miseries. What are the causes? We all came down, right? After coming down to this point, again, what's the next question? Then you say, how to remove the miseries. You say like this, we're going back, right? Okay. I don't know what that is. In India, there's one thing. What is that? There's one episode with a young prince whose name is Ram, and the grandfather told the story. Episode. What is that? Ramayana, right? Ramayana story. The grandfather told the story to the children. And now any questions, right? Who's the main figure of this story? The Ram, who was the prince. Whole story was hovering around the prince, who is also revered as God by the Hindus. So the story was narrated fully. At the end of the story, the grandfather asked, now any question on the story? And the boy said, who is Ram? Right? Okay. So how to get rid of suffering? Don't ask this question. So we have already come down to a very deeper level, right? Okay, now the question is to remove the ignorance, which is responsible, which is the final cause of all the miseries. To remove the ignorance, what should we do? We should introduce the light of the wisdom. What is the wisdom? So this is how we very systematically go, and then we will gain conviction. What do you mean by wisdom? A discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. What is the next question? What is the reality? The reality is the third seal. What is the third seal? Everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. So therefore, this is how the four seals, they are so intertwined. intertwined, the first line intertwined with the second line intertwined with the third, right? Okay, the reality is everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. What is your next question? What does it mean by emptiness and selflessness, right? This could be your next question. Okay, so say, in a loose sense, I'm not going to explain in detail today. From tomorrow we have to go through in detail this topic, the emptiness. Okay, say, when you wake up, the fear dissolves because you come to know the reality. You come to know the reality, right? When you wake up, we come to know the reality of the dream ghost. You come to know the reality that the dream ghost is not real. This is what you've discovered. You're getting it? Okay. That the dream ghost is empty of being real. The dream ghost is empty of being real. You're getting it? Okay, my question to you. What do you understand by the dream ghost to be empty of being real? What do you understand by this? Okay, so to understand this, we may not have any exposure to philosophy. There's no excuse for all of us here, right? If it's pure philosophy, then you may say, I'm not exposed to philosophy. So my question is, what do you understand? What do you mean by when you say that the dream ghost is empty of being real goals? What do you mean by that? Anyone? Do you understand this? The dream ghost, is the dream ghost real or is the dream ghost empty of being real? Empty of being real, right? Okay, let me say this again. This if we cannot get, then we have to extend our Bodhicitta retreat, 22 days, right? Okay, this we must get if you want to have what otherwise is going to take us 22 days to squeeze into 11 days. You have to get this answer, right? Okay, my question is, what do you understand by saying that the dream ghost is empty of being real ghost? First tell me, dream ghost, is it real ghost or empty of being a real ghost? Okay, it is empty of being real ghost. Very good. Okay, empty of being real ghost means it is not real ghost, right? As simple as that. Okay. Now, tell me, which resembles the dream ghost? Okay, what is this in my left hand? A flower, pink flower. What is my right hand? Nothing. Just imagine a blue flower, right? So, what is there in my left hand? A pink flower. What is my right hand? Imaginary blue flower. Which of the two resembles the dream ghost? Pink flower? Or the blue flower? The blue flower or the pink flower? Blue flower. There's no blue flower and you are saying blue flower. Huh? Which of the two resembles the dream ghost? Imaginary blue flower. Very good. Tell me. How does the imaginary blue flower resembles the dream ghost? Tell me. Anyone? Quick. Raise your hand. Anyone? Anyone? Quick. Huh? Chen? Yeah. So what? How does the imaginary blue flower resemble the dream ghost? How? Anyone? Huh? It's not real. Very good. It's not real. Okay. It's not real. Very good. Answer is 100% correct. I want more different ways of looking at it. Answer is 100% correct. The same thing presented in other forms. Yes, Benita? Huh?
Both are imaginary. Both come from the mind.
Very good. So, not real means they're imaginary. Not real means they're imaginary. Imaginary means coming from your mind, not from the object. You're getting it? Okay. Let's say, this is so important. Say, we look at this flower, and then there's a feeling of appeal comes. The feeling of appeal comes where? In the flower or in your mind? Where? In our mind. Appeal comes in our mind. So this appeal, feeling of appeal, that is the result of the interaction between your mind and the flower object. Flower is the object and your mind is the subject, right? There's interaction happening between the two, and as a result there's an appealing feeling coming in your mind. You agree with me or not? This is so important. Okay, let me repeat this. Your mind, right? First I show you just imaginary flower. This is no interest at all. Then I bring this flower, right? Your mind interacts with this flower. You agree with me or not? Hey, you agree with me? Good. It has been some hours that we had the lunch, right? Right? Or it may be too simple that you're waiting for complicated philosophy. Okay, let's say when I show this flower, you look at this flower, and then what is the outcome? What is the result? On the level of your feeling, very pleasant feeling arises. Yes, no? So this pleasant feeling arises because of the interaction between your mind and the flower. You agree with me or not? Okay, now slowly going into the philosophy. Technical words are going to be used. So when you say it is through the interaction of my mind and the flower is your object and your mind is a subject. You agree with me or not? Okay, now in other words, instead of me saying that it's because of the interaction between the flower and the mind, I will say because it is because of the interaction of the object and the subject. You agree with me or not? Very good. Okay, now the next question. What is your emotional reaction? What is your emotional reaction? What is your emotional... Okay, let's say, when you look at this flower, there's interaction happening between the subject and the object. You agree with me or not? What is the subject in this case? Your mind. What's the object in this case? The flower. This is the basic thing that we need to know. If you don't know this, then from tomorrow onwards, we will not get anything. That is a basic foundation that we require. The play between the object and the subject. Now, let's say we are not introduced to philosophy at all at the moment, right? At the moment, say there is this flower here, the pink flower here, and there is this imaginary blue flower here in my right hand. Okay, which exists objectively, which exists subjectively? Or which exists objectively? Pink flower, very good. Tell me, the pink flower exists objectively or subjectively? The imaginary blue flower exists? Wow, without any philosophy teaching, you already understood it. Subjective, objective, right? Okay. Now with this, what is the third line? Everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. You're getting it? Okay. Now let's say, which of the two things in my hands exists subjectively? Which one? Imaginary blue flower. Okay. Okay, now let's say that this flower, right, is on the table, and Vichan is so fond of this flower, right? Vichan is about to get it, and I said, no, this is mine. What did I say? This flower is mine. What does it mean when I say this flower is mine? What does it mean by that? That it is not yours. It is nice way of saying it is not yours, right? When I say this is mine, it is not yours. Likewise, when we say that this imaginary flower, it exists subjectively. Imaginary flower, imaginary blue flower, it exists subjectively or objectively? Subjectively. It exists subjectively. Implicitly, what are you saying? That it does not exist objectively. You are getting it? So, the imaginary flower, it does not exist objectively. Means it does not has the connotation of empty. Right? It does not say this container does not have water. This container does not have water. This container is empty of water. Are these two synonymous? Very good. So, the imaginary flower, imaginary blue flower, does not exist objectively. Means imaginary blue flower is empty of objective existence. You agree with me or not? Huh? Good. Okay. So, when we say imaginary flower, it is empty of objective existence. Why it is empty of objective existence? Anyone? The imaginary blue flower is empty of objective existence. Why? Because it is imaginary flower. Yes. A little more. It is 100% correct, but I'm not really smart, very easily. Because it is empty of objective existence, because it is subjectively existent. It's coming from the mind. It is imaginary. Coming from the mind, it is subjectively existent. Because it is subjectively existent, it is empty of objective existence. You're getting it? Okay, now, with the imaginary flower, do you think that everyone in the world, all the human beings, they know that imaginary flower is empty of objective existence? Right? Generally speaking, let's say yes. Generally speaking, it does not require any philosophy, right? Even without philosophy, you will come to know. One may not be able to articulate that. If we learn these vocabularies, then anybody will say that imaginary flower exists subjectively and it is empty of objective existence. But how many in the world knows that this flower, the real flower, this flower is empty of objective existence? So rare, right? So, all those who are in samsara, they will say that this exists objectively, right? Okay. And who are actively jumping into samsara, they would be actively saying that it exists objectively. You're getting it? Okay, now the point is that just as this imaginary flower exists subjectively, the Buddha said that all phenomena, what is seal number 3? Everything, not just the imaginary flower, everything, including the real flower, they are all coming subjectively. Nothing exists objectively. You're getting it? Nothing exists objectively. Okay, which of the two things can create emotions in you? Create emotions of attachment, anger in you? Say, imaginary blue flower or this pink flower? Pink flower? Pink flower can create, right? Okay, see if there's a very drooping flower with me, which of the two things, the drooping flower or the imaginary blue flower, has the capacity to trigger anger and aversion in you? The drooping flower. You're getting it? Okay. Now with this we have to know that the third line says that everything, not just the imaginary phenomena, all phenomena, everything is empty of objective existence. You're getting it? Everything is empty of objective existence. Okay, what is your next question? Hey, what is your next question? How? What how? Exactly. How is everything? How can we know that everything is empty of objective existence? You're getting it? Okay. Now imagine, although this is to be discussed from tomorrow onwards, as to how can we know that everything is empty of objective existence, but imagine that you discover that everything is empty of objective existence, like dream, right? So, say, what is the difference between the dream flower and this flower? What's the difference between the dream flower and this flower? This flower in my left hand is objectively there, and the dream flower is subjectively real. You're getting it? Now, the unique thing about the dream is that it is subjective. You agree with me? What is the unique thing about the dream? Dream is purely coming from your mind, subjective. You're getting it? Purely coming from your mind. Now the Buddha is saying that it is not just a dream. Everything else that exists in this universe, they're all like dream. They're all like Dream. Okay. Tell me. Let's turn to page 12. Page 12 of this prayer book. Stanza 7. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. You're getting it? So this is from Vajrachedika Diamond Cutter Sutra. This stanza is a sutra actually. It's from Sutra, Diamond Cutter Sutra. Right? So there it has numerous examples given to understand impermanence, and some to understand the emptiness. To understand emptiness, to some to understand impermanence. Okay, so the dream is given there. So what is so unique about the dream? The uniqueness of the dream is that the dream comes from our subjective mind. Don't forget it. Now, if somebody tells you that everything is like dream, what would you understand? How would you understand it? How would you understand it? If I say that everything is like dream, then what would you say? Right? Do you mean that everything is coming from the mind? Is this your question? Yes, no? If I say that like the imaginary flower, like the dream, everything else is also like dream. Everything else, like the real flower, the Indonesia, Singapore, everything is like dream. Then how would you read what I'm saying? We are all, just as a dream is coming from your subjective mind, everything is what I'm saying as subjectively real, not objectively. Objectively, everything is empty. You're getting it? Okay. So the point that we have to learn here is that third seal says, the question is, if the wisdom, how do you define wisdom? How do you understand? What do you understand by wisdom? A discerning mind. Hey, I think we learned it 2 months ago, right? Huh? What the wisdom is? We learned it 2 months ago. Through my last visit. No, 6 months ago. What is the wisdom? A discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. Very good. Okay, very good. So wisdom is a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. Next, what's the next question? What's the reality? This is what you've asked. And the reality is everything, the third line, the third seal, which says everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. You're getting it? So from this, even though you may not agree at this point, if you are to follow this verbatim, the third line, right? Then you're following what? You are saying what? That everything is like empty, meaning empty of objective existence. Everything is empty of objective existence. If everything is empty of objective existence, how do they exist then? They exist subjectively. Very good, I'm happy. Right? If everything is empty from the object side, if everything is empty objectively, then how do they exist? They exist subjectively. Right? Okay, now, what's the next question? What's the next question? Hey, no question anymore. No more question? How can we know that everything is subjectively existent? Nothing exists objectively. This is the question. You're getting it? Okay. Now imagine that if you have really understood that everything is empty of objective existence, everything exists subjectively like a dream, then what would be the benefit? What do you think would be the benefit? What would the benefit? Okay, imagine, let's say, to see the benefit, let's say, okay. Okay, let's say that there's someone who is always the mere sight of the person makes you so much of fear. to create so much of fear in you. The mere sight of someone creates so much of fear in you. Just imagine such a person, right? Okay, by the way, in your life, did you have any of such things happening since your childhood, age 2, age 5, age 6, like this in your life? Okay, let's say someone, the mere sight makes you unhappy. Huh? Dentist. Okay. Let's say the dentist, or so anyone, the mere sight makes you a little unhappy, right? Make you unhappy. Okay, let's imagine that. Okay, maybe better would be this directly. Okay, let's see. Okay, look at this flower. Okay, right? Look at this flower. Are you seeing this flower? Are you seeing this flower? Good. What is your emotional reaction? What is your emotional reaction? A pleasant feeling, right? Okay. Now, okay, this is a fake flower. So imagine that this is a real flower. Or let's say, okay, be it fake flower is fine. So this flower is made of millions of atoms. You agree with me or not? Right? You agree with me or not? Okay. Now, when you perceive this flower, you see this as a flower. Whereas when you look at the same object through electron microscope, you will see what? Millions of atoms. You getting it? Okay. The moment you see the millions of atoms, are you seeing the flower? The flower disappears. What happens to the flower? What happens to the flower? Flower disappears. So, okay, when I will organize this, the NASA company thing, right? Okay, there's one short clip about how the flower, the leaves, they are zoomed in to see on the macro level. The macro level. So then the basic object, the flower, disappears, right? Okay, Tarala, we also have His Holiness's thank you, Tarala. Okay, so here, in fact, last time when I was in Tarala's place, I saw this, and it was exactly what we are doing here. The state of emptiness. This is a very beautiful, the depiction, and then I requested Tarala if she can make use of this, and then just see. Tarala is so efficient. So thank you so much, Tarala. Not only just the picture, she made copies for all of us. So thank you very much, Tarala. Thank you. Yeah. And Tarala was also inspired by Vinitala. Yeah, Vinita, the cousin of Tarala. So thank you very much, Tarala. So with this will be distributed to all of us here. So the idea is we will use this. First, I'll give you some idea. Okay. So the same flower, if you look at the atomic level, what happens to the basic object of flower? What happens to this flower? The flower disappears. You'll start seeing the individual atoms. You agree with me? Okay. The flower disappears. Now, when the flower disappears, what happens to your emotional reaction? Earlier, when you see that this is a flower, through your naked eyes, there was an appealing feeling, a feeling of appeal within you. Now, when you see this in the form of the atoms, what happens to this, the feeling of appeal? That also disappears. Just as the flower disappears, even the reaction, the emotional reaction, the appeal, that also disappears. You agree with me or not? Okay. Now, when we subject this flower to this analysis, to this micro-analysis, right, the feeling of the appeal disappears and the flower also disappears. Likewise, any perception, any person, or anything The mere perception of that makes you feel sad, makes you feel unhappy. If the same object is subjected to the same micro-analysis, the way we did to the flower, the same object will disappear, right? Yes, no? Including the pain that we are going through, including the pain, even this pain, which is a mental process. The flower is a physical process, and the pain is a mental process. You can subject the same mental process, also to this analysis, not only physical. This analysis, the flower disappears. Likewise, even the pain, you can subject this to this analysis, known as the macro-analysis or ultimate analysis. When you subject this to the ultimate analysis, even the pain will disappear. Sickness disappears. Aging, death, depression, tension, all these undesirable things, they also disappear when you subject these experiences under this analysis, right? These experiences dissolve. Now, if you're able to sustain this analysis, all your miseries dissolve, right? Then when the miseries dissolve, what happens? Mental agitation stops, right? Then sorrow dissolves. It transcends sorrow. When the sorrow transcends, what happens? Your mind feels the peace. What is the seal number 4? What is seal number 4? Transcending sorrow is absolute peace, right? What are we seeking? We seek absolute peace. Now, with this understanding of the emptiness of objective existence, we see that the object dissolves under this ultimate analysis. You subject the same analysis to all the undesirable things. All the undesirable things, they as well dissolve. Your sorrow dissolves. When the sorrow dissolves, you are able to transcend the sorrow. If you transcend sorrow, your mind is at peace. What disturbs, all settles, all dissolves. The tranquility, serenity, all comes back to you. So that is known as transcending sorrow is absolute peace. This is so precious, right? So therefore, the wisdom of emptiness, it is so precious to explore, to learn, to study, to reflect and meditate on emptiness. This is so precious. Okay. So, and this forms the 4 seals of the Buddha's teaching. Right? 4 seals of the Buddha's teaching. From this we see that the wisdom of emptiness is the final gateway to enlightenment. It is for this reason that in Heart Sutra, Avalokiteshvara responded to the question asked by Shariputra, and then finally Avalokiteshvara said what? Said that once you get this perfection of wisdom to see things as end of objective existence, all your fear dissolves. Once this dissolution of the fears, you drop all the fears. Fears dissolve. So this experience of transcendence of sorrow is the gateway for all the Buddhas of the past, present and future to traverse along towards enlightenment, right? So this is so precious. Okay, so now, from what you have heard thus far, tell me, what is the key thing that we need to keep in mind that we have to take home? What's the takeaway? Takeaway after the retreat, from what we learned thus far of the 4 seals. Tell me, anyone? Everything is of the nature of emptiness, selflessness. So this point, which means that everything is like illusion. Everything is just coming from mind, subjectively real. Nothing is objectively real. That if something is there for us thus far. So in fact the Bodhicitta is yet to be explained. But what we learned today of the 4 seals, if there is something that we can take away from this 4 seals teaching, then it is the 3rd seal, which is most important, right? Okay. Now the 3rd seal, to feel the effect of the 3rd seal, we need to have the 1st and the 2nd seal. Okay. Anyone who can tell me, share with us why the 3rd seal will become, you will feel the tremendous value of the 3rd seal Only if you have the first and the second seal. Why? Anyone who likes to share with all of us here? Anyone? Why the first and the second seal, these two are required for us to feel the weight and the value of the third seal. As your name? Ling. Yen. Oh yes, Japanese money. Yen. Okay. Yen. So as Yen said, that the third seal is to be taken home. Take away from this the four seals teaching. Right. Now my question to you is, the third seal, we will feel the weight. For example, same. If you are sick, if you have, say, the recurrent headache and sweating, loss of weight, loss of appetite, and so forth, still you don't know that you are suffering from tuberculosis. You still keep on taking what medicines? Like say paracetamol, right? Keep taking. You just continue to take paracetamols, thinking that it's just a minor thing. And then even if you have the fresh, say the most updated tuberculosis medicines, you will not value this medicine. When will you value this medicine? When you discover, when the doctor says that you are suffering from tuberculosis, only then this medicine will become of such a value for you. You're getting it? This medicine, tuberculosis medicine, you will find the value of this only when you come to discover that I'm suffering from tuberculosis. Likewise, this third seal, which says everything is of the nature of emptiness, selflessness, in a loose sense, everything is subjectively real. Everything is empty of objective reality. So this message, this seal, you'll feel the weight of this, you will feel the value of this only if you understand, or you have the feeling, the feel of the first and the second seal. Why? This is my question. Anyone who likes to share with us? Anyone? Yes, over there. Mike.
The first seal talks about impermanence on two
Yes.
levels.
Yes. The first seal talks about impermanence, and the second seal talks about the contaminations. Contaminations will take us only to miseries, right? So by reflecting on these 2 points, in what way by reflecting on these 2 points will make us feel the weight of the third seal? How? It's very true. By reflecting on impermanence, by reflecting on the contaminated things as of suffering nature, then our sense of valuing the third seal will become intense. So how? Anyone? Yes, over there.
Because we all want happiness and we do not want
Exactly. So the seal 1 and seal 2, from there, it explains to us so well that we are the nature, the state, the plight that we are in at the moment is a miserable plight. Miserable plight, and we don't want to remain in this miserable plight. We want happiness. And when do you want happiness? When do you want to have it? After next year? After 10 years? Or right now? If possible, right now. Because the pain that we're going through is so severe and is so urgent that I should have the happiness right now. Right? So in other words, seal number 1 and seal number 2, by reflecting on these 2, a sense of urgency will come to us. A sense of urgency will come to us. Urgency means I should have the third seal as soon as possible. Right? Without the third seal, even if I don't like this misery, I have to go through the miseries over and over again. So the third seal is to be is a takeaway gift from the teachings of the Buddha. But to feel the weight of this as a gift, we need to have the reflection of the first and the second seal in order to stimulate the sense of urgency within us. Right? Okay, good. Okay. So we'll stop here for, maybe 1 or 2 questions. So there are 2 questions here already. We'll do these 2 questions, then we'll stop here. Okay. One is, about the 8 mundane concerns which we discussed yesterday, 8 mundane concerns. It says that what is the difference between, say, the 8 mundane concerns in what? A set of 4, right? No, 4 sets of 2. 4 sets of 2 making 8, right? What are the 4? Pertaining to the material resource. Material resource, gaining material resource excites you, 1. Losing material resources makes you demoralized and demoralized, number 2. Then what is the material resource? Number 2 is pleasant words and unpleasant words. Pleasant and unpleasant words means what's the difference between the pleasant words, unpleasant words, and the praise and the defamation? This is the question. Pleasant words means just a very trivial discussions. Very trivial discussions, like say for example, talking about the mundane things like the movies, movie stars, actors, actresses, what's the current fashion now, and so forth. These trivialities, discussion on these trivialities, these are what the ordinary people see as pleasant words, right? And then the moment you shift your topic from these things towards, what is meant by what is the third seal? I don't remember it. Oh, don't bring it here, right? So that may be unpleasant in the ears of the ordinary being. So that is the thing. The next one, praise and this is directly with you. You are nice. You are hopeless. You are very amazing. So praise and defamation. So that and the pleasant, unpleasant, these are slightly different. Okay. Then the next question is, what are active seeds? What are inactive seeds? Okay, we were discussing earlier this morning with as a part of what? We said this in relation to what? Active seeds and inactive seeds? In what relation we talked about this? Active seeds, inactive seeds, anyone? Afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations. We have the Buddha natures within us, the treasure of ultimate happiness, ultimate source of happiness is within us. Yet it is obscured by the mental defilements. And the mental defilements are of 2 kinds, the gross and the subtle. Gross one is known as afflictive obscurations. The subtle one is known as cognitive obscurations. And the gross one, how many kinds are there? 3. What are they? Contaminated karmas, afflictions, and active seeds of the first 2. Active seeds, don't leave it just there. Active seeds of the first 2. Active seeds of the contaminated karmas, active seeds of the afflictions, right? What does it mean by active seeds is the question. Okay. Active seeds says, say for example, while you're here now, how many of you are angry? No one. No one is angry, right? Now after 11 days, going back home, how many of you are prone to become angry once more? When your next door neighbor throws garbage next to your door, how many of you are prone to anger? We all, right? So we see that although we don't have the anger now, but we had the anger before, and later on, anger can potentially arise. So for the anger to arise, there must be a seed within us. There must be a seed within us. And that seed, unless that is active seed meaning seed which has full potential to blossom into anger. Full potential, not a burned seed. A seed which is burned cannot give rise to any shoot, cannot give rise to anger. So a seed which is intact, seed of the anger, seed of afflictions, seed of contaminated actions, which are intact. Intact meaning having the full potential to give rise to the anger, afflictions, contaminated karmas. These seeds are known as active seeds of afflictions, active seeds of contaminated karmas, right? Now, what is meant by inactive seeds? Okay, this is, say, inactive seed. What is it? In what relation we speak about the inactive seeds? Anyone remembers? Related to cognitive obscuration. Very good. Inactive seeds, we speak of that in relation to cognitive obscuration. What is cognitive obscuration? So we said the inactive seeds of the afflictive obscurations. Inactive seeds, right? Inactive seeds. What exactly is cognitive obscuration? We're yet to describe it. So for that, we have to have at least the next 4 or 5 days classes, right? We have to have this number of classes in order to understand what exactly is cognitive obscuration. Now, the inactive seeds, in simple terms, it is more like a seed, apple seed, for example, an apple seed which is burned, roasted, already roasted, but superficially it still assumes the shape of the seed, the color of the seed. But if you plant it, it will not germinate into apple tree. You agree with me? Okay. Such a seed is known as inactive seeds, right? Okay. So the same, after cleansing, after removing all the afflictive obscurations, still there's a subtle stain left, which is also known as inactive seeds. And the one way of saying is a subtle stain, very subtle stain. So that subtle stain, after, let's say, you wash your clothes and the solid dust are removed, and even the subtle dirts are removed by the detergent, and then if you compare this, which seems to be so clean, compare this with the brand new cloth or the cloth, compare the two, then you will see the difference. There is still there exists a very subtle stain. So that is analogous to the cognitive obscurity. What exactly that stain is, this we will learn after 4 or 5 days, right? Okay. Okay. Why are only 3 turnings of the wheel mentioned when Buddha has taught so often? Very good question. So, in fact, it is like how many teachings the Buddha gave? Buddha gave innumerable teachings, and you must have been hearing about what is known as 84,000 teachings, 80,000 teachings, right? In some books you will see 84,000 teachings. In other books you will see 80,000 teachings. What is the difference between the two? The difference lies, this is what we need to know. Okay, how many of you know about Ananda? Venerable Ananda, Arhat Ananda. Ananda was the Buddha Shakyamuni's cousin brother as well as the chief attendant, right? And do you know how he became the chief attendant? Okay, so Buddha's disciples, they had a meeting and then they requested the Buddha, please keep an attendant for your convenience. And then the Buddha finally accepted. And then, okay, who is going to be attendant, right? And then the disciples, they were discussing and they unanimously came to Ananda. So, Venerable Ananda, we request you to be the chief attendant of the Buddha. And Ananda said, provided. If you are given the offer, what would you do? You are going to be chief attendant of the Buddha, what would you say? Yes or provided. What would you say? With a condition or without condition? Without condition. But Ananda laid one condition. And what's the condition? He said, provided the Buddha teach only in my presence. Buddha teach only in my presence, only then I will be the Buddha's chief attendant. Only otherwise I cannot. So, the matter was reported to the Buddha, right? Matter was reported to the Buddha. So Ananda is saying like this, so what should we do? The Buddha said, okay, I will teach only in his presence, right? Okay, so now 80,000 teachings. These are the teachings after Ananda became the chief attendant of the Buddha, right? All the teachings were recorded because Ananda later became Arahat and he had this special power of the photographic memory. Whatever the Buddha taught, he could recall without any error, right? Okay, so 84,000, which means 4,000 teachings, they were given before Ananda became Buddha Shakyamuni's chief attendant. So therefore, in the text, oftentimes you will see the mention of 84,000 teachings or 80,000 teachings. When 80,000 teachings means, it is since Ananda became the chief attendant of the Buddha, and 84,000 is, the 4,000 is before the Ananda becoming the Okay, so then the question, there are so many teachings given, and why we speak about only 3 turnings, not 84 turnings of the wheel of dharma, right? So this question. So the answer is that these three teachings on Four Noble Truths in Sarnath, and then the teaching on emptiness, ultimate reality in Rajgir, and the teaching of the clear distinguishing in Vaishali. So these 3 become the 3 pillars of the Buddha's teaching, 3 pillars of the Buddha's teaching, and all other teachings somehow can be subsumed under these 3 categories. Some teachings, they incline more towards the Four Noble Truths teaching, some more towards, for example, say, the teachings on emptiness in other places. They all correlate more towards the teaching which the Buddha gave in Rajgir. So these are the 3 pillars, and all teachings can be subsumed under these 3 categories. Okay, so this, we finished the questions here. So should you have more questions like this, please feel free to leave them here. Yes, Janet. Yes, Janet.
Geshela, I need to clarify on this question on renunciation. Usually, renunciation is to renounce the misery of samsara. That's what we understand. So, if we have this desire to reach Buddhahood or to attain Bodhisattva's level for the benefit of all sentient beings, is there an attachment in this desire that we need to renounce also?
Okay, this is a very serious question Janet was asking last night, and she was bothering all the attendees there, right? She challenged everyone. It's a very good question. Very good question she asked. Okay, very good question. So the question is a little complicated. It is related to, okay, I'll quickly touch on this. There was many years ago when I was a student myself in my monastery in South India. I was in a restaurant, and there were some, say, 4 young Indians. 4 young Indians came, and they did not find any place there. Only my bench was empty, all others just occupied. And then they became hesitant to come to my place. Again, they came 3 times. Then finally, I sensed that they were looking for a seat. Then I offered them to come. They joined us. And of the 4, there was one boy who was the boss, little bossy. And then, just as a very casual discussion to break the silence between them and me. So this boy said, okay, you are a Buddhist. And I said, yes. Tell me, what is the essence of Buddhism? He doesn't like to hear all the details of Buddhism. He only wanted to know the essence. He said, what's the essence of Buddhism? Then I was so innocently explaining about, okay, we have to get out of samsara, we have to cut the attachment and so forth. Then he said, this is impossible. So confidently he said, this is impossible, to cut attachment is impossible. Even the greatest of the saints have attachment. I said, how do you know this? Then he said, because the greatest of the saints have the attachment for nirvana. Right? I want to achieve nirvana. I want to achieve Buddhahood. This is also a form of attachment. This is what he said. I was so impressed. Then I thought, okay, now this is the right person to whom I should speak. Then we started having more discussion on this. Okay, so the question is, say, I want a very delicious food. I want Buddhahood. Both have the element of want, desire, right? You feel attached to the object. Your mind feels attached to the delicious food. Your mind feels attached to the Buddhahood. So in both cases, there's a form of attachment. I desire Buddhahood. I desire delicious food, right? I want Buddhahood, I want this food. Both, there's an element of want, there's an element of desire, there's an element of attachment. Right? Now when you speak about renunciation, renounce attachment. Should we renounce the attachment to Buddhahood? This is the question. Right? Okay. Tea break and group discussion. Okay, we'll do this later. Right? You think more, right? This question is very serious, right? Okay. If you could not follow the question too well, then go to Janet.